This is Sway.
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 In the morning.
In the morning.
In the morning.
Shake it.
Wake your fuck ass up. That crust out your eyes.
You always play this song when he come in. He's probably tired of it, man, because he made so many brilliant songs since then. But this, it's the feel of this one have to be.
It feels good.
Yeah.
And the video was crazy. Yeah, Lupe Fiasco is here. The other thing is, I remember back when this song was out, Lupe approaching me and saying, "Yo, why I'm not on that hottest MCs list, man?"
Oh,
And
wow.
that
was a long time
That was
ago.
a long time ago.
How'd you respond, Sway? What'd you say?
I smiled like, I like that, you know, because he wanted his, I'm spitting bars. He wanted to make sure, hey, recognize that I'm spitting bars out here, man.
Recognize me, then.
In the beginning of your career, that's it's important.
It's important,
to
be recognized for what you do.
Yeah.
That's all.
Doubt.
Yeah.
If you choose to let it be important for you.
Yeah. So break that down. That's interesting.
Yeah.
What?
I often, people are going to get mad at me, but when say like the Grammys come around, right? And then we're lined up to win these Grammys, and people are really excited about it, and then they get disappointed when the Grammys don't represent what we feel are the pivotal points in our culture. And I'm like, man, why would they? They never have.
Oh, I'm not getting into that. I don't co-sign anything. What Sway just said.
Okay, that's good. That's good. But that's why I said.
That's your disclaimer.
That's my disclaimer right there. I just need to walk around with that on the chain. Like, I don't agree.
That's why.
What he just said.
What Sway just said.
No, but go ahead.
But and it's like, when do you? That's why I said this is what I'm saying. At some point, you stop caring like what the other person or other organizations may consider is great or award worthy, as long as the people got it, right? So, beginning of your career made a difference if you was on that hottest list.
Yeah.
Now you've been around the world. You've been a part of many charities. You worked in the Olympics. I mean, you've done so many different things. The priorities change, right?
I don't know. Not so much. I don't know. It's. I don't think those things really affect, how I feel as a rapper.
Yeah.
The craft of writing raps. Because I would do that without anything. I did it before the MTV's hottest MCs list. I'll do it way after the MTV's hottest list burned down. But that was a reference to the Apollo. But anyway,
that's right.
Who joke was that? Was that a Eddie Murphy joke? Or anyway, but nah, those things don't affect the art.
Yeah.
For me, I'll always create. And I don't need validation or qualification to do that. But I forgot who we had a conversation with about the Grammy, specifically about that, about qualification and validation and where it comes from, and it doesn't matter. But we also can't completely embrace this thing as ours and no one else's. Yeah. Because that makes no sense. Because if you do that, there's so many people that you got to go back through time and cut them out of the history of what we do, and that's not fair. From DJs to producers to rappers to dancers to singers. If we can't embrace everybody, no matter who they are or what color they are, then we're doing the same thing that was done to us. And that makes no sense.
I've been watching your interactions, and especially online with Azalea or Kid, Azalea Banks or Kid Cudi and all these Twitter conflicts that you've gotten into. What is your take on the cultural appropriation? Is that it? Like, hey, listen.
I don't believe it.
Okay, what do you mean?
I believe it's a myth. And I think that we get a little too caught up in validation and qualification, even from ourselves. Like, who are we to validate and qualify a culture that none of us here, maybe you, Sway, but nobody in this room, maybe you, Heather, but nobody that was born in the 90s created. Right? Who are we to say who does this and who doesn't? We won at the swap meet trying to find turntables and connect them together and rock house parties up in the Bronx, and nobody did none of that. And the dudes who do that, we don't even bring their names up anymore. It's like, who are we to validate ourselves and then tell other people what they can and can't do?
Right? Got deep.
So I don't believe it. I believe that, and we can get real. Hip hop culture is hip hop culture. It's not black culture. It's a part. It stemmed from black culture and other things, and then you have to be honest with yourself in this capacity. Like, if you had the choice to have or not have the cultural and social and economic conditions that created hip hop or hip hop, which would you rather have? I'd rather have not the Bronx look like in the 70s, look like Beirut, like it just got bombed, and out of that you got to find some way to entertain yourself and do that. It's like, nah, I'd rather it look nice, and then we didn't have hip hop, because I would rather just live in a nice house and not have to worry about the police and not worry about this and worry about that. People kind of forget the social conditions that created this thing here. And if you had the choice to say, man, nah, I would rather not have that and not have this thing called hip hop come out of that. I'd rather just have the beautiful life, be able, my life expectancy be higher than 20, and me being the schools in my neighborhood world class and et cetera, et cetera. I don't want this to be a fallback, And for a lot of people, it is. It's like it's a fallback, but it's a representation of the badness and the ills of our society and the ills of our community. That's where hip hop came from. Yeah. Right? So it becomes like, man, what would you rather have? A nice life with no hip hop, or some fucked up shit with niggas rapping on the corner?
We're going to make that a question for our listeners.
Question of the day.
888-742-3345. And with that said, I want to play a song called Deliver, and then I want you to break down those lyrics for me, if you don't mind.
Sure.
That's next. Lupe Fiasco. I like this album. Tetsuo and Youth. 5th studio album.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about these lyrics in a second.
Shout out to Mozart. Shout out to Detroit. The Glove. My man Mozart produced Deliver, and he did Prisoner 1 and 2. So shout out to Detroit coming through with the beat.
Prisoner 1 and 2 is a song that's about 9 minutes long, right?
Yeah, it's 2 songs.
Yeah.
And a little interlude put together.
Okay. But you got about 3 songs that expand. Mural is about 8:30
and some change. Yeah.
And there's one more that's about
Chopper.
Chopper's
9 minutes. Chopper's too damn long, and we'll talk about Chopper if I could dispel why that song is so long.
Why is it so long?
Okay, so shout out to Billy Blue. Shout out to my man Trouble. Shout out to Buck from Psychodrama. Shout out to Trader Truth. Shout out to Family. Shout out to Glasses Malone. Shout out to DJ Dahi for producing the record. Now Chopper, which is the first song after Winner, so it's like track 9 or something like that. I'm not sure. But I got the beat. I was like, yo, this beat's crazy. Yo, background check for Chopper. Okay, I got to get the realest people I personally know.
Yeah.
Right? Except for maybe Buck. I didn't really know Buck that personally, but my man Chili Chill knew him. But all those dudes I know personally. Like, ride around town with him, ride around Miami with Billy Blue, crack jokes, me and Family sharing pictures of each other's guns with each other, et cetera, et cetera. I was like, yo, everything that they said on that record, they do. And I could vouch for that. Yeah. So it's like, let me get the realest people on this record. Not the illest rappers in the world, even though everybody killed it. Trey destroyed his verse. But not like, let me go get Childish Gambino and Chance and I don't want that. I want like the real grimy dudes in the street who really will do this record. And when I sent it to them, I sent them like the chorus and then the bars, right?
The
like,
length that you wanted them.
Just the beat. And it just so happened to be 32 bars. And everybody did 32 bars. And I was like, I should have sent 16s. It's too goddamn long. And it was funny because I sent a record to Rick Ross, and it was the same thing. It was like 32 bars. I just did it, laid the idea and sent the beat. And Ross was like, yo, I'm doing 16. Like, I hear you did 24, but yo, I'm doing and sick back 16 bars. And I was like, all right, so I just thought everybody was just going to do what they wanted to do. But everybody went in and we got it back. And I was like, yo, if I don't put Trouble on there, I can't go to Atlanta no more. It's like,
no fly zone.
Gotta put him. Shout
out to Trouble. But it was just like, nah, Rockton. Forget it. And I reached out to Dai. He was like, yo, man, maybe we can change the beat up a little bit and do some other stuff, but it kind of got lost in the sauce. But we just rock with it. And I was like, that was the only record on the album where I was like, man, so long. Like, I don't know if it might be too long. We killing, but people rock with it.
People rock with it. So. Mural, the same thing is.
Mural's intentional.
It's intentionally that long.
Yeah.
Now, your writing process, because I saw you come up here and shock the world, came off the top of the head freestyling. when you write a song like this, are you penning it, or is that coming off the
I
top?
wrote the first maybe 24, 25 bars.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was just gone. And then I would stop like for like a week, then like come back and then lay another 32, and then come back and lay another 16, and come back and lay a 4, then come back and lay another da-da-da. So it was broken up into chunks, but that first like 24, 25 bars I actually wrote down to get it going, and then I was like, oh, this is special. Let's go.
Let me ask you, because you did the song with Ty Dolla $ign, you did one with Ed Sheeran, and it felt like those songs may have some radio legs on it. You know, I don't think you necessarily shoot for that.
Yeah.
How did Atlantic, your record company, deal with those songs? Or did they accomplish what you hoped they would?
I don't know. It was before we even got into trying to record. Like before I was even ready to go in the studio, they sent me 7 records and was like, "Yo, you gotta do these records, or your album's not coming out." Like another, I'm like, "Yo, fuck that, man."
Who did that? Atlantic?
Craig Kalman did that.
Okay.
So Craig Kalman and Mike Karen. But it was just like, you know, I'm all right, whatever. So we laid them, and then it just turned into, well, we don't like your verse on this one. We don't like. I'm like, yo, fuck that, man. Like, fuck it. So it was like 7 records. One of the records was Old School Love with Ed Sheeran, and I was like, I'm not doing that shit. That shit's soft. And then my man Guy Sebastian came in the studio, who opinion I really trust, who's on Blur My Hands, heard it and was like, yo, you got to do that record for me. He's like, just do it for me because it's so crazy. And we did it. We laid it down. But it was like an Atlantic record, you know, and it was like they ran with it, tried to do what they do, you know, tried to dress it up like, yo, it's going to be crazy, you're going to do this. And then it just kind of panned out, and it's like, I fucking told y'all. Like, it doesn't match. Like, it's cool, I fuck with Ed. I don't fuck with the song.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of like, whatever. And so we had 7 songs like that.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like, yo, none of that shit gonna work. Watch. You know? And then they just was like, yo, dude, we can't get the sample clear. We can't. I'm like, that's y'all shit. Like, that ain't, fuck you telling me for?
Yeah.
And then we just had to
Get on your job.
the reason that you got songs like next to it, and even there's another song called Crack, which didn't make the album. The reason that you got songs like Chopper is because originally the album was these 7 soft ass records.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like, yo, I don't want to make an album like that, but I ain't got no choice, so it's not gonna come out. This album wasn't supposed to come out. You seen how we had to get this one out with fucking hackers or some shit. But I got into a zone. I didn't even want to start cussing or talking about this. Okay. But it was like, so you had 7 records that was super soft, and then it was like, yo, we got to make some hard shit, something that we feel that we like. And I don't want to make. There was no murals, there was no body of works, there was none like that. It was just like hard shit. So I went and got Justice League. It was like, bring me the hardest trap shit you got. Went out to Sunny Digital, was like, yo, bro, send me some fucking hard trap shit to get Future. It was because I wanted just hard shit to counterbalance all this soft ass pussy records. And I was just kind of like, that's why you got songs like Pussy.
Pussy, yeah.
Right? These really hard pussy nigga get fucked. Real nigga, that shit, right? Because it was a reaction to this soft ass record. And it was just kind of like, once it was like, yo, that record don't work. None of this is working. We can't get the sample clear for this. We can't clear this. The producer won't do this. I was like, that's fantastic. And we went back into the studio and created the album that you see. You know, the Tetsuo and Youth, the album you have now. So that's what that story is. You know, why this record's on the album. This isn't. Why this record exists. Because you wouldn't even have had it next to it, you know, if it wasn't for having to do an Old School love.
Okay, man. Okay, see, that brought a lot of clarity to the. See, I'm a scientist, so I study. And why did he do that? And why did he do this? Okay, Lupe Fiasco said we're going to open up the phone lines, and I want to do a lyrical breakdown as well. And then he asked a question: if you could have life without the injustice, the inequality, whether it's economics, education, the justice system, as opposed to having hip-hop culture.
And all those things being factors in creating hip-hop.
Yeah, right? All those struggles being a factor, components of the creation of hip-hop culture. What would you choose? 888-742-3345. Here's Blur My Hands.
Yeah, I think you're number 1, 2. I think you're number 1, 2.
I just write this note.
Oh, man, you held that.
Shout out to Guy Sebastian, man.
Yeah.
John Legend gonna sing that over. I can see John Legend home putting on lotion like he just lotioning up and singing that shit to Chrissy. Yo, John Legend sound like he'll go hard on that. All lotioned up, baby.
That's so funny.
Wow.
Just being honest.
We got
Cream.
P on the line from Texas. Say what's up to
Cream
Lupe
and oils.
Fiasco, P.
What up, Lupe?
What up, Texas? What
Oh
part?
my goodness, like I'm a major fan of yours for real. Sway, what's up? Heather B, what's up?
What up,
P,
C?
what up? What up? Hey, hey.
What's going down?
So what
No,
you
go ahead. I'm sorry.
go ahead. What you gonna say?
No, I'm gonna say, I dig hip hop the way it is. You know what I'm saying, with the struggle and strife, because I feel that that's the only way we can really appreciate the culture and the things that people have been through. If you always rhyming about the good life, you know what I'm saying, that's bullshit. You know what I'm saying, because life ain't always good. So to get the grimy and get the real, I love that shit. So, music ain't music without the struggle.
Okay, so here, play hypothetical with me, right? What you in
All right.
Texas? What part of Texas you in?
San Antonio.
Okay, San Antonio, Texas. I'm sure there's do you have a fair justice system out there?
I mean, hell no. It ain't a fair justice
Okay,
system, no.
all right. Do people in disenfranchised areas have less resources when it comes to education?
Of course they do. I mean,
Okay.
but that's anywhere you go, though.
Okay, but what if that wasn't anywhere you went? What if you had the option to have your society be a fair one for everybody across the board? Doesn't matter what color, skin, or any of that. What would you choose? To have that society, or to go through what we've gone through for centuries but still have hip hop?
I'm gonna have to go with the struggle, because again, like I said, I think what people miss, those that do have the silver spoon in their mouth and been given everything, what they miss out on is knowing what it is to work for some shit. You know what I'm saying? Knowing what it is. Not that you always have to have the worst of shit, the roaches and the rats and shit. Nah, not like that. But just saying, being able to appreciate whatever it is that you have. Yeah, we want everybody to have a fair system, but is that shit realistic? It's not fucking realistic. I mean, there's no utopia that's going to be like, everybody's fed, everybody's pockets are full. That shit is not real. But with hip-hop being and us being in a position that we're in, that shit is real. It's real sleeping with motherfucking dogs at your feet. You know what I'm saying? It's real with gunshots flying over your head. It's real motherfuckers kicking in your door and shit. That's real life. But what that shows you is, you get through that bullshit, you can get through anything.
Peace.
So, even
right.
though, I'm sorry.
No. We yo, preach.
Put a beat under her.
She put a microphone in her phone. She put her phone down, put a microphone in the phone.
Yeah.
And just stood up in her car. Was like, yo, nigga, what the fuck did I just say about the motherfucking struggle?
I like that. P, you a citizen.
I swear in the
Swag.
morning.
Yeah, that's what
Swag.
we deal with on our show. Junebug in Queens. What up? Junebug, what
June,
you want?
June.
What up, Big June? What up,
man?
baby? What up, June? I see you.
No,
June,
no,
June.
man. Yo, first of all, my boy, man, he speaks very highly of you, Sway. My boy, he's on that Rick Ross Boss for a Day video. Bryant,
Yes,
he
yes.
speaks very highly of you, man. That's my boy, man. But
Yeah.
anyway, man, listen, Lupe Fiasco, what up, my nigga?
June, what's up, bro?
Chilling, man, chilling. Listen, man, I've been a big fan. The Cool album was one of my favorite albums, man. I listen to that almost every day I get a chance, man. But I had a question for you. My question is, what's your take on the whole Chicago rap scene right now? I know, they got a couple of young artists and all that, and where do you see it going from here? And what's your take on it being called Chirac and kind of getting it to be on the negative kind of atmosphere, negative approach on it? What do you think on that?
I don't speak on the Chirac piece. I don't speak to that. But to the as far as the young artists, man, it's good to see, whether it's technical ability, you have somebody like Chance or Vic Mensa coming out of the city who can just rap circles around the world.
Yeah.
But also at the same time too, you have dudes like Dirk, you have dudes like Lil Mouse, you have dudes like Bibby, you do have dudes like Chief Keef who coming out of their situations, the neighborhoods and the things that they come out of, doing the best that they can as far as putting music together and using that as an avenue to get out, as opposed to trying to get out some other way, shoot their way out, even though their music represents that to a certain degree. But it's good to see them at least putting them energies into that music side of it. So I respect everybody's hustle.
Yeah.
I've always have. You know, so I think it's a good thing. You know, it's good that you know, shout out to my man Rondo, who hopefully will be home soon, but still. I hate to see the young dudes go down the drain in the midst today trying to make it out. But you know, the ones that do make it, and even the ones who in the midst of trying to make it, I give them my full support. So
Lupe Fiasco is with us.
Now, Lupe, I'm hella curious because I just took a quick glimpse on Twitter and people are already talking about first week projections. So it made me wonder, how much do sales numbers in 2015 factor into whether you deem an album personally successful?
I don't know. I don't get into that. I mentioned maybe 6 weeks ago we was gonna do 30K the first week. Kids was like, nah, what are you talking about? You Lupe Fiasco. I was like, nah, man, we're gonna do about 30 racks. I don't really. It doesn't really. Like I said, it goes back to that qualification and validation and what makes what. Most of the great masterpieces that we look at in art, and I'll compare myself to a masterpiece because I think Tetsuo and Youth is a masterpiece. I don't give a fuck what you think. But most masterpieces that we look at museums and we go to and laud over these paintings and pay $100 for and stand in line and do all this stuff, they were hated when they were first made. They were rejected by the main things at the time, which was going platinum as a painter or doing whatever. A lot of these artists passed away, died. It took hundreds of years for their work to be recognized and being put into positions like that. And there was all type of fairy tales and stories and biographies and stuff attached to it along the way. And then it was who owned it, who stood in front of it and took a picture. A lot of the art was stolen by Hitler, and it became like a badge of honor to put this in the museum because it represented the fall of Nazi culture and stuff like that. So there's tons of, speaking of art specifically, there's tons of narratives and things that we think everything that drops is supposed to just be great and enjoyed right now. Yeah. And sometimes it takes 10 years, 15 years, 100 years, for stuff to kind of really get its true thing. But as of right now, we dealing in right now, people gonna say it's a failure because we only did so much. Right. We only sold so many copies, so it's a failure. It's people who don't like Lupe at all. It's people who turned off their radios when they seen I was coming, waiting for me to get off, so they can go back to whatever the next segment is gonna be without me being on it. So it's understood what it is, but that doesn't take away from what this album is. That is one of the best albums that dropped in the past 10 years. That is probably my best work that I've ever done, which speaks to a lot because what's considered my best work is so miles ahead of the next nigga shit. But, it's true.
I like that. Yeah.
It's true. I never put bullshit in the game.
Yep.
I've never, you go through my whole history, it's all about empowering, showing balance, getting you to think. I've never hit you with dumb bullshit ever. So I'm proud of that.
It's interesting because which brings up like I remember when you did the 3-part series of videos with Lambo Angels and Tal and Autobahn, right? Am I saying that correct?
It was Roses, Autobahn, Ballroom, and Lamborghini Angels.
Okay. Yeah. And then and I remember with you and I'm not trying to just bring up these conflicting moments, but the one thing I always talk about is resolution. We spend a lot of time at each other's necks, judging each other and shitting on each other for the moment, for the headline. And the blogospheres and everybody plays into it, radio personalities, everybody plays into it, but it's a bigger picture. When you and Freddie Gibbs went back and forth and in the end found resolution based on, he misunderstood, I guess, when you were wearing the KKK uniforms and you actually sent them your video and said, man, look, you might be taking this out of context. And y'all were able to resolve it, then that's real to me. You know what I mean? That two soldiers could come together and say, okay, I apologize for that. But that seems to happen often with your work. People misconstrue, something you say or some symbolism, right?
Yeah, I can't control that, I think if you hop off the Lupe timeline, like if you stopped at a certain album and you're not going to get it. Like if you walked out of the movie and then you come back in because you had to go to the bathroom, you missed the whole scene where dude got shot and that's why he shot the little girl or something like that. You're like, why you shoot that little girl? Fuck this movie. And it's like, nah, that little girl had the demon baby in her. She was going to destroy it. But people don't see that. So it's the same thing with anything. People walk out halfway through the conversation and only catch, fuck Martin Luther King, nigga, fuck change. Yeah. And it become like, yo, that song came out last year on Big Crit's album. And it was in response to Big Crit's verse, where Big Crit was trying to help niggas, and I was like, I'm gonna play devil's advocate and say fuck these niggas. Let's just get money. And niggas who mentality is fuck Martin Luther King, not in words but in their actions. Yeah. Every time you kill another black man, you're saying fuck Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
right? You saying fuck Malcolm X. You think it's cool to just I'm gonna stand up on his birthday and tweet out a picture and say something else, but it's like, nigga, you just took old homegirl's girl, you just so dope to dude, and you would kill this nigga in a heartbeat if he came in your fucking house, right? But you'll walk past the bum on the street to go in the Foot Locker to pay $1,000 for 6 pairs of shoes. The fuck is wrong with you, right? But people don't want to hear that, and then when you only catch that part talking about Foot Locker, niggas be like, man, fuck that, nigga, I love Foot Locker and motherfucking that. It's like, bruh, that's not what we talking about. That's why I left Twitter. You know, because I felt like people just caught the tail end of the conversation and then wanted to speak their piece and just go crazy. And I feel like I was enabling people to bring out their own dumb shit. And it was just kind of like, nah.
And people were focusing out. And that was going to be my question. Why do you even bother to respond to that shit on
Because it's
social
Twitter.
media? That's why? You're like, I'm like, why is he
It's called the reply. But I think I'm a type of person who really believes that there's a book by Paulo Freire. It's called The Pedagogy of the Oppressed. It discusses education, and it discusses there's two versions of education. There's top down and there's bottom up. There's the banking system, which is what all of us have went through, which is you go to school, you be quiet, there's a teacher who you think knows everything, telling you everything about what. You don't use 99% of that shit when you leave, and then you go get a job being a rapper, aka Lupe Fiasco, right? But there's another system called the dialogical system, which the root of that is dialogue, where there's a student-teacher, teacher-student relationship, where there's a conversation being had to dispel any type of myths, you know, or any type of just kind of ignorances about certain things. And there's great examples throughout the book where they talk about how people will demonize, that they showed a picture. I'm going to just run with this.
Yeah.
Sorry if it takes up the time. There's a scene in the book where they discuss these people went out to this in South America. The guy who wrote the book is Brazilian. They go out to this little town, little work, you know, middle class town, workers working in the factory, and they showed a picture. And there was a picture of these 3 dudes drunk in the street. And there was a picture, and then the same picture, there was a guy who was like just looking at him. You could tell that he was sober. And they asked him to discuss the picture. Now the teachers was like, okay, who's the people who really are, who's the hero in this picture? And the people was like, oh, it's the 3 drunk dudes. And the teacher was like, what are you talking about? It's the 3 drunk dudes. They got to be they got to be the burden on society because they're drunk. They're out. They're wild. This guy has to be the dude standing on the sidewalk. He's like, nah. Because what you don't know is that the 3 drunk dudes are the dudes who actually work in the mines. And the reason they're getting drunk is because the work is so hard, and this is their day to kind of be off, and this is them celebrating that. The dude over there, he doesn't work, because if he worked, he would know how hard the work would fucking be, and he would be fucking drunk too. You know? So I say that to say, I look at Twitter as a dialogue. And whenever some really, really exquisite dumb shit pops up on my timeline, I was like, let me have a conversation with this little girl or with this guy and in public so people can see. And then we'll bring it out of them. And 99% of the conversations that I have in Twitter, if you follow the entire conversation, the person will either end up apologizing or the person will be like, oh, yo, I see what you're saying. I get it. They might still have their like, oh, but you know, I'm still coming from my perspective. It's like, I respect that. I'm not trying to change your perspective. But this is the truth of the matter.
Yeah.
You know, and so.
That's it. We saw.
That's why
we saw Freddie Gibbs apologize. Did Cudi apologize? Or
Fuck him.
Okay, great. Azalea didn't apologize.
Fuck her too.
Okay, great. That's where we are. But you're off Twitter now.
Yeah, we left. We were gonna leave anyway.
Okay.
I had that and my last tweet in my head for like a year. I was like, that's gonna be my last tweet, and for my last tweet, that's gonna be my end of my shit. So shout out to my man Busy, who's running it right now to promote the album and do some other stuff. But yeah, I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done doing interviews.
This is it?
This is one of the last ones. I gotta do Tavis Smiley next week.
Did he just
that's
stun on
it?
us?
Yeah, that was good.
No, we handpicked. Shout out to Marsha up at Atlantic. She was like, yo, how you want to end this? I was like, let's get the people that I really fuck with and fuck with me. We'll do my last interviews with them, and then I'm done.
Wow. Honored.
Lupe is here. Final interview. Hold up. Tracy and Heather, I'm going to get, since he's here, it's his final. Anything, you might as well get it off now.
Oh, yeah, very, very true.
No, wait, hold up.
Oh, I got excited.
Don't waste it, though. This is his final one, so.
Yeah, I have maybe 1 or 2 more interviews left. One with Tavis Smiley, and then no more.
Oh, my goodness.
All right, go ahead. So what you want to ask him?
I got 2.
Okay.
All right. So the first one is, because you've inspired so many different artists, I feel like your name that always gets brought up. Is there any younger artists, ones that have come after you, who have inspired you?
Kendrick. My man Dosage, even though he doesn't know, he knows now. My man Dosage from Philly, just in his work ethic and what he does. Charlie Clips, up in Harlem. Really all of the rappers on URL and all of the battle rappers, Loaded Lux, even Daylyt. Like, if it's not direct inspiration, like a technical inspiration, it is definitely to compete on a level. Compete with yourself on the level that they compete with each other. Like, approach that shit every way. The way you approach every bar, approach that shit how Charlie approaches every battle. Yeah, and that's it.
FAB and Arsenal are battling tomorrow in the Bay. I'm going to fly out there to host it. Who would you put your money on?
Neither one of them.
Neither one?
Nah, shout out to Ars, man.
Wait, let me get my second one in.
Okay, go ahead.
Shout out to Ars.
Have you had to apologize to someone? Like, sincerely say sorry, and what was it for?
The only person I've ever felt I needed to apologize to was Chief Keef, and I didn't even do shit wrong. I think me and Chief, if it even happened, because it's still like, did he really say that on Twitter? Like, I'm gonna smack the shit out of Lupe. I was so shocked, and I was in Spain, and I heard about little JoJo getting killed. And I'm not a BD, I'm not a GD, I don't give a fuck about none of that gang shit. For me, it was just like, man, here's this little rap dude who's nice, who I think if he was still alive would be the king of drill right now. Here's this dude who's nice, trying to do his shit, and then he dead. I was like, that's so fucked up. And then I remember seeing his video with the BDK, and I was like, oh shit, he would have killed them too. Whoever killed him, if it looked like he would have got them first. If they wouldn't whack him, just like 1,000 guns in the video. Goddamn.
Yeah.
But I was in mourning for dude, and I was just like, man, like that's. But then it realized like, but there's people who don't give a fuck about dude, you know, who look at that as like being a win because he would have whacked them type shit.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I expressed that fully to people, you know, and they just looked at it as like, oh man, you with the ops, you dead, whatever. And it was kind of like, you know what? Let me just really, like, bro, apologize for whatever.
Right.
Because I don't want this to get into some street shit and then it goes somewhere else. And that was probably the only really where I felt I had to apologize for something. The Tribe Called Quest shit, that wasn't my fault. You know, Q-Tip set that shit up, whether he want to believe it or not. You know, a bunch of other shit that happened through the joint, it's like I had nothing to do with that. Like, either I had nothing to do with it, I didn't do it, or niggas is not keeping it 100 on their side of what really happened and just leave me out there to the wolves. So I don't owe none of these niggas an apology. You know, the thing with people trip on, if I got something against Obama, it's like I met Obama before all of y'all. He just don't remember. Right? But who I love is Cornel West. Right? Who helped the man get elected. And what people don't know is Obama shitted on Cornel. It's in Google Cornel West criticizing the president because the president leaned over and told him some crazy shit. And Cornel told me and I was like, he did what? Right? And it's like, well, I'm riding with you. You my man. I love you. I'll die for you. I'll kill niggas for you. Right? So I'm going with you. So anything that you got to say, I'm with you. So I'm not apologizing for none of that shit.
What happened, if you don't mind me asking, with you and Cudi? Because when y'all went back and forth, he was talking about the Kendrick comment, but you was talking about why you don't support those who supported you when the music business was ripping you apart. What was that?
When Cudi was running around here going crazy, drugs and all that crazy shit, and you know, I met Cudi when he worked at the Bape store here in Soho, and he was a good dude. I loved his music, you know. And I just got a love for dude, right? And I know that certain people, when they get fame really quick, it'll tear you apart. It'll fuck you up. And it's good to kind of have people, even if we not gonna eat dinner together every night and do no shit like that, but I genuinely fuck with you. I'm a real nigga, and when I fuck with you, I fuck with you. And so we cool. Maybe a year ago, I told my fans, like, yo, if you want a Lupe verse, I'll write it for you for $500. It'll be yours. You can't put it on Twitter. It's yours. Like, don't leak the shit or do whatever. You know, it's yours. And Cudi went on Twitter and was like, yo, Lupe, what you gonna do with that money? I'm like, nigga, it's $500. What the fuck are you talking about? I'm thinking he joking.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, what you mean? What you gonna do with your money? Or the same thing I do with verses that I don't personalize for niggas. And he stopped tweeting at me, so I couldn't see what he was tweeting. And then I caught wind of like, you just see all these Cudi fans like, fuck Lupe, da-da-da-da-da-da. And I look at what this nigga wrote, and he like, yo, Lupe trying to swindle his fans. I would never do my fans like that. That sound like some bullshit. It sound like he trying to rob niggas and do all this other shit. And Barry's right there, my right hand to God, the first person I called Barry. I said, yo, give me this bitch ass nigga Cudi number. If I see him, I'm knocking him the fuck out. Cause I want to get to the bottom of what the fuck you talking about. Because it's me. The same nigga you went in Complex and was like one of the only niggas who reached out to me genuinely and had love for me was Lupe, but now I'm some fucking thief. Now I can't find you. Right? Nobody knows who you are. Right? And then you come back with trying to tell niggas how to act and operate themselves in the business. Nigga, shut the fuck up. Because I couldn't find you. I've been trying to find you for 6 months.
So that's why you responded to that other thing.
Yeah, like, nigga, get the fuck out of here. Like, you one of the worst niggas. You the worst type of nigga. Right? On some street shit, niggas wouldn't sell dope to you because you the worst type of nigga. Right? So it just become like, don't treat your friends like your enemies. Don't turn around and shit on niggas. And that shit ain't had nothing to do with you. Me, who I write verses for and what I do with my money ain't got shit to do with you. And I told all my niggas, and they know, all my niggas. I was like, yo, if I see this nigga, I'm gonna try and snatch his motherfucking teeth out.
Barry, is that true?
I still haven't talked to Cudi. My man ran up on him in L.A. Seen him just happen to ride on side of this nigga in his range. So, you know, Cudi, let's settle this. Like, talk to me before I fuck you up.
Okay. At least you asking for resolution first.
True.
That's important. Do you think, because you and Azalea know each other, would you ever try to seek resolution with her?
Nah.
Why
She's
not?
good.
Yeah.
She's got a point of view. People enjoy it. You know, it is what it is.
And that's what we're going to leave it.
It's Sway in the morning, only on Shade 45.